Our rule is like
Oh,
if I have something, you have something.
sorry.
So,
I hit the go live button. We're live, just so you know. I was trying to move the screen and I hit the go live. So hello, guy, everyone. The music's gonna start. Our intro is here now.
love it.
Yeah.
You were so still, I thought it froze.
Oh. I'm still here. I should start reading something. Oh, we could just start. I just kill the music. Yeah, it's hello, everyone. I'm Dan Lutz, and I'm here with
Tank?
And we're here on the front lines in the battle against the deep state, the Lumadonkeys, and all those that wish to enslave all of mankind for their own selfish reasons. How's it going, Tank? Missed you yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm very, very sorry about that. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
I hear you fine.
Okay. Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. I actually, we've been burning the candle at both ends, and I was preparing for the show, and I was reading an email, and next thing I know, I woke up and it was 4:30 in the morning. It was like 10:45 when I was reading the email. I was sitting right for our show, and I blacked out, kind of. Just woke up the next day. So.
Well, that happens. I know what that's like. I'll be typing and I'll start this thing. I have to think about something, and my eyes just close, and then I wake up like a couple hours later, still like my hands on the keyboard. Like, it's too much. So, let's get right to the Kim update, or the Kim's update, we might say.
The Kim's update. I know. Okay, so this is I just want to explain this better because I listened to Thomas explain it, and I took that with the information I already knew, and then what Kim had told me the day prior. So basically, all of the debts, every loan that has been taken out by the Order of the Black Sun, as well as the Rothschilds, for the past 500 years, has been called in. Okay, so what they did is, particularly with like the Treaty of Versailles, what something Kim mentioned, right, is that they took out loans in the names of these other countries, right? So it's like, they basically created currency, and in the process, they were actually taking out a loan from the trust. And so in the process, they would take it out in the name of, Fiji or whatever, right? And then, but it was really their debt. So Kim gave them the option. Now, you can pay the debt, or you can have the Rothschilds pay the debt.
So the country, she gave the option to the. She gave the option to the countries, right? the countries to pay the debt.
Well, the countries and definitely the banks, right? So the banks have the option, right? So because the banks basically have been reliant on the Rothschilds for everything, and now is the first time where they can basically say to the Rothschilds, "You owe us money," right? And so what happened was, well, I don't know if this happened or not, what happened yesterday, but I know they don't have the money to pay the debt. It doesn't exist, right? There's not 62 quadrillion anywhere to do this with. And it can be that intentionally, right? So what happens is,
well, I've got enough in my Zimbabwe dollars. I've got enough.
Right,
I can,
Zim, right.
Yeah.
I think it has to be U.S. dollars, though, right?
It's 1-to-1 though.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is, of course, they're thinking, well, no problem, we're going to RV because they're slow, I guess. So, they tried to do a fake RV, right? And numbers showed up in the system, of which Kim backed out, and that's gone. So there's no value to that. And then basically what has to happen is like, well, there's no way to pay the debt. So now all the banks, right, they get nationalized. Now, this was Kim's goal all along 2 years ago. She told me this, right? So it was, look, now they're nationalized. Now, the next step back then, I think this will still apply, is basically now you have to have the military go in and take over all the banks. They're all nationalized. So now the banks are owned, I guess like the shares are owned by the people, right? So everybody is now, it's our country, so it's owned by the banks. And specifically, Thomas mentioned repeatedly being turned over to the Republic, right? Now, I listen to Thomas talk a lot. I don't hear him mention the Republic much, and he may have. I haven't heard it. So I really took note of that terminology. That's a big deal because it really, the Republic is a key, even that term, right? Because the Republic guarantees there are unalienable rights that belong to the people. Now, in the trust, it's not just money. It's land. It's souls. It's
right,
buildings,
everything.
it's materials. It's everything you can imagine. So essentially, it restores the natural rights, the fundamental rights of the people, and abolishes the entire corporate structure. So the whole UCC system, which has dominated the whole world, is annihilated. I mean, there's no way they could have paid it back yesterday by 5 o'clock. It wasn't even possible. It was like, it wasn't even really an option, to say that. Like, she could have said, like, if you can time travel and, and you can find a way to come back with 2 heads and, and you're blue, then you can do it. Like, she could have said something that ridiculous because coming up with 62 quad is impossible. There's not enough money on the planet to do it with.
Right.
And they don't have ownership of any of the assets.
Is that why they try to do the RV? So they say, "Oh, we'll create it right now."
They don't own the money. How can you possibly pay the debt back? Oh, so this is what she said. So, but every country has an allocation, right, of currency that she holds in the trust. So she paid the debt back, basically, that the Rothschilds owe from the individual countries, right, with their allocation. So now, basically, what happened is the countries bought back their asset. It's genius. So simple.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So now, I think everybody's sovereign again, or something like that, or close to it, But we'll see how long it takes them to catch on, because that is, this is, like beyond huge. It's beyond it is the biggest news. It can be repeated 100 times. It's still bigger than anything being talked about anywhere. It's massive.
It is. So. Yeah. So there is nothing bigger than that. That is the whole enchilada, as they say, right? It's everything. So while you were talking to me, I was explaining this. I was thinking about, it took so long for them to gather all of the assets under one trust. I don't know if that was 500 years altogether, this process, or if that was like a 16,000 year cycle. I don't know what it is, but it's still a long period of time. Our frame of mind is really about 30 years, right? And by the time we're about 30 years old to about 60, is when we're really like focused on what's going on, but maybe it's 50 years. But they have this perspective of things that makes it look out over the centuries, right? 500 years, for example. So we go back 500 years ago to what 1600s. What was going on? They were selling the boats to from Spain to America. 1492, and that was So that's so it's the 1500s. But they were which is the perspective is so much different. So they were gathering all of the assets, right? But because they knew that at a certain time that everything had to be given to one human, so that it could then re-up again for the next cycle, right?
Right.
But the only way that makes any sense that they have that perspective is if their lifespans were much longer, right? So if you talk about these Anunnaki, right, the Enlil, Enki, and their lifespans were hundreds of thousands of years, because the cycle of the planet that they were on was so far elliptical, 3,600 years to go around one time. That's 1 year, right? So their lifespan was different. But when they came to Earth, their lifespan shrank. So it's interesting how that changes. Sorry, little. I was just thinking about that. It's not really that pertinent to, but it was just.
No, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, it's just so fascinating. There's just like an infinite number of topics that can come up from these things that are, you can never exhaust them. They're always fascinating, and like the more you learn, the more you want to know. But it's also the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Right.
There's so many like. Now that we're talking about it, 500 years, it definitely was one of these infinity contracts, one of these infinity agreements, right? So it must have been a 500-year agreement of some kind. But I don't know what the agreement was. But obviously, it must have been with the Rothschilds or something in the trust. But these agreements are almost always like with the trust and whoever, right?
Yeah.
So
one of the things that I noticed is that in some of the prior research I knew about before, we got into this a year ago, is that there was a time frame of a 500-year cycle back in ancient Egypt, between the gods, like one god taking over for another god. It was 500 years and of slavery. It was the debt-based system where they instituted, you had to like now pay to get into heaven. Right, to cross over, you had to put money into it. So how are you going to do it? Well, you're in debt, right? So how can you make it in? You don't even have anything if you're in debt, right? So that's the first round of debt slavery back then, right?
right. I mean, the Bible talks about the Jews were, the Hebrews were, they were slaves for 500 years, and then an additional 30 years after that, because they had no way to negotiate their freedom.
Yeah, but this particular 500 years I was talking about actually was before the Jews.
Oh, okay.
This is going back, like I think 4,000 years ago or something like that.
But I'm just saying it's another example of the same principle.
Yeah. That's right. It keeps repeating.
I know there is a reference to 490-year cycles that I've heard about, and I know it's like it's like 7 times 70 years, something like that. Like you hear a reference like 7 times 7, it's symbolic of some cycle. But I don't know. I don't know the meaning of it.
I know we all don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. I think it's one of the things that should be done is really a way of bringing out all the truth of the history, right? Without all of the people that are so set in their ways, that they can't. They can't look at new things, right? They don't want to be wrong about the path that they've been on and researching, right? So, they hold true to whatever was their grants were given to them on. And, so the whole system of how we look at history and science based around the way the money system works it distorts things, right? So it's hard to know what the truth about something is, right? Because whoever the victor is, they write the history, right?
Yeah, I mean, history is relative. I mean, you need it from multiple perspectives all the time, all the time.
So since we're winning now, we can rewrite the history and bring out the truth.
I love that. I love history in general. I love to see like what happened and how we got to where we are. You know, but I've obviously now, like one place I think would be a good place to start is for the Smithsonian to release some of the incredible evidence they have, the relics that they have of, massive burial sites with whole, societies of skeletons of giants, and explain it, right? Because they're not all the same. You have different giants from different places, right? You have giants with two rows of teeth, and then you just have like 7 to 8 foot tall Iroquois Indians, right? Like they're discovered right here in like Connecticut, like this is normal, right? And you actually have in New York City, right? The Iroquois Indian, they're responsible in large part for building the skyscrapers, right? And
right, because they were the only ones where they could walk up there at those heights.
Right, they refer to as the Iroquois Sky People sometimes. But if you connect that with some other Native American legends, you connect them with the Rainbow Warriors, right, or things like that. But they could potentially all be talking about, like, how could they possibly be that comfortable in these impossible heights? What experience would they have, right? Well, it could be, something to do with Atlantis, because there's, the Iroquois were essentially the Atlanteans, from what I understand. And then the Iroquois are also the ones who wrote the original Constitution, like that the next Constitution was based on. So all that stuff to me, I love that stuff. I love that stuff. And luckily, I grew up in Iroquois Nation, so like there's really cool history kind of tracks back. Who knows what's what though?
Yep. Well, I was just also, the history is going to be very interesting how this period gets rewritten, or not. Well, we're writing it on our end, but the mainstream media side is obviously an illusion. It's part of the story. Even Trump, killing off this new, Iraqi general, this new big win, right? It's a big win, but everyone on the Democrat side and all the mainstream media are faulting him no matter what, right? And one of them even came out and said, "Well, it would have been okay if it wasn't this president."
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, wow. It's like, where do these people?
Idiots. I mean, I feel like everything that the Democrats say is just broken. It's like, why do you guys keep talking? Everything you say makes you look racist and dumb and just small, right?
Yeah.
Everything they say.
Well, I described you off air, but this In Pursuit of Truth, Sir Patrick Matt iPod, that he had a video out yesterday that went into this, and it's very fascinating. And I kind of picked up when Trump was talking about this hit, or from not the hit, but the Christmas present from Kim Jong-un, and he was saying, I'd like a vase, I'd like a nice vase, right? But he had said it twice in 2 different times, saying this, so there was something to it, right? Something to him saying that, and I picked up on it, as I guess Sir Patrick Mack did too, because he investigated that, and he did a whole thing. I encourage everyone to go and watch that In Pursuit of Truth from yesterday. I don't know the name of it, but it outlines that what the Christmas present was ended up with the death of this Iranian general. And it's a little out there to think about it, but it looks like I think he's on to something. Because how else do you communicate, right? As you communicate through these methods, right? So when they got together at the DMZ, Trump and Kim Jong-un, and they were there for how many hours? 3 hours talking, and they laid out some plans. They said, listen, tell me when you got the info for me, tell me you're going to send me a Christmas present like you did last year, and you set off some missiles, right? And so, and that would mean, oh, well, what is our response as a American military? Well, we fly planes over top of North Korea that are spy planes that do one thing: absorb data. So we sent these 4 planes, and these 4 planes acquired a lot of information while they flew over. What did they acquire? Now, the next thing you know, this guy and this general is now in Iraq. This Iranian general is in Iraq making plans to kill Americans, right? And Trump takes that intel, right? They said they had actionable intel. Where did it come from? All right, it came from the Christmas present from Kim Jong-un. So, I mean, this is a little bit out there, but I don't think it's too far out of him. There's some other reasons why he put it together. There's some other information having to do with another report or something that was put out by the Trump administration about their accomplishments. I mean, there was 15 categories and 380 instances of success, something like that. But if you put the right numbers together, it turns up to be the same numbers as the spy planes. Right? So
that's really amazing. That's very, very, very impressive. I think, to pull that together.
Yeah. So again, it's well worth going to watch this just to see. But this is the kind of history that we're going to be writing, right? When all is revealed out of what came through QAnon and how Trump had to speak to the world leaders because all of the world leaders that want to get out from underneath this monstrous system, they don't want to be in it anymore. But they were unable to wiggle themselves out too. It was only because now Trump has made that wedge, right, that they're all now can get on board and say, okay, we're going to push this all aside now. And now they're all working together. So what's going to happen in Iran? I don't know. But maybe now that this guy is out of the way, maybe the people rise up in Iran. Maybe this is what the signals have been coming from the Trump administration and Pompeo talking about. It's the Iranian people. It's in their hands. They're signaling to the Iranian people, time for them to step up.
Now, what's interesting though is the Iranian people have been stepping up. They've been speaking out, and I mean, think about it. It's a tyrannical state. It's not a safe place to put messages out, and they're still getting messages out. So you have to imagine it's a much larger voice there than we might realize. But now let me ask you this. Now, I think this sends a message the opposite way, right? Because obviously, like Nancy Pelosi goes over, and she's really trying to establish that she's really in control, right? Or that the deep state's still in control of America. Right. So she says, look, we're still in on the Paris Climate Agreement, right? She says things like that, like trying to establish how powerful she is. But there's got to be some questions going on right now, because they all know they don't have control. That there's got to be someone in the government right now that realizes, oh my God, we can step out from underneath the shadow of these, giants in mediocrity, for all this time. But also, what did you say was the prediction? You said was back that they referenced Q from back in March of 2018.
Yeah, maybe I can bring that up. I had it up on the screen yesterday. Do I have it? I'll do a look while we're talking. But it had to do with a QAnon post. One guy decided to look back based around the date of the first January 3rd, 2020, right? So in other words, 1320. So post 1320. So I could probably just find that. Give me a moment here.
Well, but anyway, so if you have that prediction being made back in March, right? So this is I think it's a reasonable conclusion to make that you have to attribute Q to some type of AI mapping system, right? That is actually able to consider all of the potential outcomes, right? and things that you can look for to know that we won, right? So Iran loses control, that could be one of them, right? But it makes me wonder, right now, do you know that there are 70 protests planned here in the United States because this general, who is also the general that was behind the Benghazi attacks, who's also, a known terrorist, right? Who's been known and ruthless as a general, right? Obviously, just not in a country that we know is not our ally, right? And there's 70 protests planned, mad at President Trump, allegedly. I mean, I'm sure they're paid protesters, right? 70 protests because of the death of this general who is pretty much a known terrorist, right? Like, so I think our priorities are a little messed up.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I can't find the actual Twitter, but I'm going to just go to that post. I'll do it that way.
Well, so Dan, I came up with, I was thinking about that thing with this general today, right?
Okay, I've got it here.
Oh, you got it? All right, pull it up, see.
All right, well, I'll share it with you. Let me blow up the screen here a little bit too, so it's easier. Okay, this is so he basically looked up by the date of the 3rd of January, year 2020. So 1320, and he said, let's look back in time because always future proofs past with QAnon. So it says, POTUS took control of Iran today, right? Originally, this was May 9th, 2018, right? So over a year and a half ago. Today, evil lost control, leverage of Iran. Today, POTUS took control of Iran. Today, with pending sanctions and military actions. POTUS will gain more ammunition / intel against them. Suicide watch. The deal kept Iran quiet. The goal was to keep POTUS until impeachment / term end. Bigger than people can imagine. Treason 1/10. I don't know what that means. Ask yourself, why are they panicking? Ask yourself, why is UK, France, and Germany so involved? Trips to the White House. What are they hiding? Why is HRC in New Zealand? Why is Hillary in New Zealand? Is New Zealand part of Five Eyes? Why is that relevant? Suicide watch. So just the timing of this, right? That it's all about Iran losing its leverage. Now this general was the number 2 in all command. It'd be like wiping out Nancy Pelosi, number 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean Pence. Right. I knew what I was saying. Whatever. I'm just joking. But Nancy seems more formidable than Pence, but that's not saying much. But this guy was really, had such control, operational knowledge, mastermind behind all of the killing of people. He
worked directly with Obama. I mean, he was Obama's friend. I mean, he was there in the Obama White House. And,
exactly.
I mean, so you can see that he's part of the organization of the, practical idealism of the Islamic takeover. So to take him out, to take away one of the brains of the operation behind. I mean, that's what they don't want to talk about. But that's the reality.
But I think about this. You always hear that we don't assassinate foreign leaders, right? All that goes on, you can do whatever you want, but you don't touch the leaders, right? Because the leaders, if you go after their leaders, they can go after your leaders. So it's like Marcus of Queensberry rules, right, or whatever. Right? You have some kind of war situation rules that you have to play by, right? But who made those rules? It's the cabal. They don't want their people taken out. But what is Trump doing? He's taking out the leaders. He's killing off the leaders of all the evil people. He's killing them. You know, al-Baghdadi, right, and then his number 2, killed, right?
Well, I mean, even this. Look, now I know this directly. I got this directly from a friend of mine whose brothers and cousins were there with headsets in, directly receiving instructions on exactly the whereabouts and how to capture Gaddafi when the people caught him and stomped him out to death. That was a CIA operation, right? Now, it might be commonly known, and like we hear that like in the lore. I got that directly from the people there who were involved, right? So it's like not something you want to repeat too much, but so you can't. I mean, like obviously, it's like, well, you don't take out leaders unless it's convenient for the cabal, unless it works to our agenda.
Well,
which taking this guy out, the reason why Ilhan Omar is mad and all these other shills are mad, like Nancy Pelosi, she's furious, right? Of course she's furious. Like that guy was a big help to them, to do something awful. So that's what happens.
Right. Trump will continue to remove the evil people, right? He's cutting off all the heads of all the snakes, right? And these are major accomplishments, right? This is dismantling everything, and those that are basically have been at least jumped off that sinking ship and jumped over, such as Kim Jong-un, right? No matter what he's done in the past and the rest of that, it's hard to really put yourself in the shoes of where this kid growing up in a family where they just end up killing people left and right around him, right? He was brought up in that, but he's made a decision for his country to work with Trump to get out of this mess, right? So kudos to him. Right, and I know people are going to say that in the mainstream media that Kim Jong Un is still the worst of the worst, and maybe he's done really bad things, but this is he's made that decision to help move us in the right direction. So you see a realignment in the world powers. You got this royalty side of this, right? You've got the new emperor of Japan. You've got Kim Jong Un, which is royalty. The Queen of England, and I'm sure there's others in the mix, right? That are all in alignment with this, which is the old power structure of the world, which is still a lot of the base rules of everything are based on this monarchy law, right? I mean, you've got the monarchy law here. They allowed this other type of law to sit on top of their law, where they didn't complain about. They kind of maneuvered it and uses another control system like democracy and these kind of things. But
well, it's interesting when you say that, because like the Emperor of Japan and also Kim Jong Un's actual lineage, it probably connects, because depending on who you ask, right? But there is, when you track back the kind of migration for how did China exist, like somewhere in there, like there's belief, like one of my Dr. Ryan was talking about this the other day, saying how the Koreans will say, well, actually it goes back to this place. So the originals would be the Koreans, right?
Yes.
So you can see how maybe these are symbolic of these royals that made these agreements with the original 5 tribes. I mean, just based on just the name, and I guess that would probably include Indonesia, potentially, or Malaysia or something like that as well. I'm not sure, but it makes sense. And I think about Kim Jong-un, to be honest, it's like, well, if you're raised a certain way, now, what I know is North Korea is a Rothschild experiment, right? They had absolute control. So they completely isolated the culture, right? Completely.
Yeah.
And Kim Jong-un kind of broke out of that, I think, on some level.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to say, it's not really evil if this is all you know. Right? It's like, this is all I know, right? This is what we do, right?
Well, he was yeah.
But we would consider harsh.
In his world, everything that he was brought up to know was it's the great Satan, America, right? Same as Iran, right? So that everyone believes in this, but there's a truth to it and that it was the cabal with the face of America, using America as its puppet, and so everyone points to America. Oh, that's doing bad things, right? But it's really this puppeteer behind the scenes that was really the great Satan, right? Using this country of freedom that was the only one on the planet founded based upon the independence for each individual to be, free, right, and to pursue happiness. It's the only country still to this day. All the others are kind of tweaked. So it's kind of like I remember when Iraq was first freed, right, quote unquote, right, from Saddam, right, and they put out a new constitution. There was actually a push at that time for the people in Iraq to use the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights. There was a push there. It was stomped on by the Americans. They said, no, you don't use this. And they twisted them away from it.
Really? That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah.
It is really amazing. I got to say this. I've been thinking about it even as we're talking. If people had any idea, if you've ever listened to anyone who grew up in the order and really had a knowledge of what was going on there, you'll never hear an interview where even if they think it's the most evil thing ever, you'll never hear them talk about a way to overcome it. They're just like, there's no way now. It's too late now. It's too late. Oh, and they're not doing it to be a psyop. They really feel that way, right? Because it's so in depth, so ingrained. There's so many factors. There's so many pieces that have worked against us. I cannot overstate what impossible odds have been overcome in, really, to be honest, in large part to Kim behind the scenes, a 39 races of enslaved galactics that she made peace with to help us, with a president that stood up to the machine that Kim has been backing the whole time, right? That, to be quite honest, if it wasn't for the George Soros voting machines, being taken offline by hackers, the day of the election, there's no chance we'd ever have President Trump as a president, period, right? You have, the number of, and then the underground bases and all the ways they've been poisoning us, the water, the various dimensional beings that have been feeding off of our fear, the impossibility of us overcoming this, right? And then in that, I always remember this. Kim always said to me, I'm coming down from the top, you're coming up from the bottom, right? But that's the key, right? It's because she planted the seed, right? That's what happens with seeds, right? Seeds grow from the bottom, right? And then, but the potential for that one little seed can be, a 300-foot high tree that extends up into the heavens, right? So that's the investment that was made in the people, right? Now, I gotta be, I'm big on this. I think about this all the time, I think I will not let Kim be wrong. I will not let that happen. I will never let somebody say that was the wrong investment to make. My life will demonstrate that was the best decision.
Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I can't do anything else.
I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, just taking all of these steps that we've been, from it's like 303 shows ago or 304, we're right at the point where there's such a big change in the world. We're right there every day on the front lines making it happen. Even when it was called DANK, DANK Live.
DANK. And we could have gone anywhere with DANK.
Yeah, we could have done
anything. We're a show about weed in California right now.
Yeah, I'll bring it back later,
Yeah. In our older years, when we're like 200 years old, you and I just kicking it. Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I always, I can tell you that if I could never, from the time I was very young, think that I was going to die in my 50s or 80s or hundreds, I always thought, I would be living for centuries. I mean, 450 years, I think I was saying in high school, right? Because there was some study that came out about, how science has evolved to such a state, and we know so much about things that the way science goes. If you're, age 30 by certain year, I forgot what year it was, but you'd live to be about 450 years old, and that's what I turned out. At my age at that point, I would have turned out to be at 450 years old, right? But it does seem as though we should be living to be 1,000 years old plus. I really don't think that there is other than some being disintegrated, right? Just really just you're gone. That there is there is going to be a way in which we're able to really rid ourselves of disease altogether, right? And we'll be able to fix all the problems. I would say this back in high school. Will you be able to take a pill and grow to the age you want to be? Now, I'm just making it easy as possible. If you want to be 22 years old, no matter how old you were, you take the pill, and every day you grow until you reach that age. Even if you were already 80 years old,
yeah,
you would grow young,
right?
It's just a matter of how your cells are, right? And so
yeah, I've heard people talk about it. Yeah, like I know that there are pills out there that do this now, that you can reverse age. I mean, there's just a simple.
Well,
pill,
I know,
right?
like the ones.
Not to mention, there's things like the med bed that. It's arguable. Jared Rand talked about the med bed, and there's other Colonel Mark something or other who was actually on the missions to Mars, like Corey Gunn, right? And like he talked about it, and I talked to him directly about it a couple times. Like we were working with him, right? And that's a fascinating conversation altogether. What he had to say, but he was saying he has the understanding of how to do it, and he knows what will take place. But he was saying it's going to take 5 years just to get that because the holographic technology has to be so precise, right? It has to be super high tech. And but also he confirmed something that there's these elements here on the planet that are not listed on the periodic table that he would need to do this, right? So it's fascinating, because I've talked to a couple of these high-end guys who've told me about these elements, and I'm fascinated to find out what they are and what they do, But there's so much here. There's so many things that are possible, real, exist all the time. It's the stuff like we've seen. We just didn't even know.
Well, just even the Bible says people are living hundreds of years. 1,000 years on the oldest side, right? But okay, 800, 900 years, right? And this was normal, right? But we were scaled back, right? They twisted the dial and restricted us. They also restricted our access to higher brain functions, right? Things that we're able to see that was also restricted. These are governors, right? And that's why I think that part of this these experiments they're doing with vaccines to create autism, other kinds of diseases, really partly also to find out who's going to break that governor, that keeps us from getting to that point. It's kind of like the Rain Man syndrome, right? When you have this super fantastic access to information, right? Even in the old tech, in the Emerald tablets, talking about Thoth and all of the Anunnaki court and all of this, they would have the autistics, right? that they'd bring up, right? That were like their human computers, right? To get things computed.
Well, really, and what I look at autism, I study this a lot, and it's like if you look at the brain as a spider web, right? And if you were just to cut off access to every other portion, but you put all the same energy and just give them access to just one portion of the brain, right? Like now you have all the same energy, so now it's able to access everything so much faster because it doesn't have access to the rest of the brain, right? And that's kind of like what they wanted to use us that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
What they are afraid of is for when someone opens up all aspects of the web, and then they can use the same kind of energy on every aspect of the web, and ultimately they put all the pieces together and realize, oh, there is nothing that I'm limited by, right? I can figure things out, access information this way, because right now I know this for a fact. You know, Tesla said this, right? He said, my mind has more important things to do, or has more important tasks than to remember. and what he did is he had mastered just accessing the Akashic records in the field, right? And he just, as he needed it, he just pulled it, you know? And he operated from a place of, you know, alignment with the source.
Yeah.
And which, especially at that time, was very difficult to do. Yeah, you have to imagine, because obviously we were covered and surrounded by all types of dark things, right? I mean, Tesla was actually, in a time, he in this interview I heard, he was talking about this energetic being that his colleague had identified was sucking the life out of this other person. But he could see it, he could identify it. He had some tool that was able to, like, say, oh, there it is. That's straight out of Stargate, you know? But this stuff is real. I mean, this is what's happened. And right now, it's like when they're tearing down these Confederate statues down south. They're already trying to demolish our history because it's not convenient, right?
Oh, not convenient. No, it's everything about the history, right? It's not just one thing. It's everything they want to basically overcome.
So, you know what? They can't do that anymore because they ain't got no money. They got no friends. You know, so everything's working in our favor, and I'm happy about that. So I think we're on the cusp of really doing what we set out to do. So 15 days turned into 304 so far. So we'll just keep it up.
Yeah. I was going to. I want to show something. This. Let me show you this. This is a picture of John Trump and Julian Assange. And remember time travel, right? So, I mean,
Okay.
let's see how this is. So.
Wow. That's very interesting.
So, is it the same guy? or did John Trump get around and there's more at play here? Right? Because what did Julian Assange do? Right? Could you say that he is like, you know, the first attempt to make alternative media? Right?
Yeah, it's
right. What did he do? I mean, WikiLeaks. This is about getting the information, and what's the crucial information that's going to unwind this whole thing? Uranium One, Hillary Clinton, all these emails. It's all hinging on him, and he looks just like John Trump.
That's really, really fascinating. Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know what story might be here, but it is definitely worth noting that there is such a similarity between them, that they really look as though they could be the same person.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, and very subtle and real similarities. I mean, like, everything of their features. I mean, that's really,
even if you look at the way their ears are.
Being...
Look at their left ears, or the one on the left side of the screen, or their right on their side, but left side of the screen on either head. They have this same flat bottom of the earlobe. Yeah. Anyway, it's just very interesting, you know, to see that this might be, you know, there might be something to this, you know, considering, you know, Tesla, you know, all of his inventions went to John Trump. John Trump set up companies to create power distribution over the air, probably teleportation, time travel devices. So it's we live in a wonderful world.
We do. Yeah.
So to see where we're going here, and this plan as it unrolls is fascinating. You know, we're right there. You know, there was another video that I was listening to talking about Clem Clement, Clement, he gave these prophecies about Trump coming into office, and there's also one about this woman would rise up, right? When we were saying it's Kim, right? So there was another video that I caught where someone was talking about his prophecies, and they brought up this part. They didn't relate it to Kim, right? But the way they did, feature it, and I think it was from 2013 or something like that. Yeah, he was talking about this. So all of this together, it's like, and then Kim Clement dies a week after Trump gets elected. I said, okay, my work here is done. I'm out of here.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's
right. It's amazing, that kind of stuff. It's like, wow, that really happened, right?
Right. I mean, if he was still around, would it actually have as much punch?
No way.
Right. So no. he had to be pulled. Right. He ran the play.
There's a scripture in the Bible that says, it's something like the potency of the testimony is only valid after the death of the testator, right? So in other words, you don't know until the one who gave the prophecy, passes away. Then you see it happen. Then you know potency, right? Because it means that he had given his all, right? Like that's it. That's all he for. That's pretty amazing.
So I don't know. There seems to be this talk about revealing the history, that there is this thread that's going through back to Tesla, right? That I'd like to really analyze more about and focus in a little more on that, but not right now. Let the money flow. Let the things happen. We get into our production crews and things like that, we can start pulling this stuff up.
This is going to be the most prolific, amazing time in human history. I'm so excited, and I'm so confident in what's happened and what's happening, and the people that are put in place. The people that are very public, and then behind the scenes, and the people like you and me and others like us that are in the midst here. Which I don't think there's anybody else exactly like what we've done, but but there's others, like all types of people.
Well,
and it's really exciting because you're going to watch this just expand, and the consciousness of people completely change as they're aware of things. Like, that's amazing. It's going to be really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be so many different kind of alternative, talking heads out there. But we really need to have a rating system that is not blemished by, mind control, right? Where they're trying to convince people not to listen to certain things, right? This is diabolical, this system. But the thing is, we already know it's like this, right? They're exposed. Everybody knows it, so they can't survive and they can't weather the storm. It's just that they don't know what else to do. They're doing what they were designed to do, and they can't stop.
The hardest thing, though, I think, is that you now have generations deep of people that are, as these things are revealed. One, it's going to be like we all live in Missouri, right? The show me state. Everybody's going to want you to show me proof, right? It's going to be like that for all of us, right? It's like we all need, because everyone's been in a state of misery. They have been miserable, and they don't know it. So now we're going to have to show what's possible, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge, because people are going to have a hard time, even though things are true, they're going to have a hard time trusting it. That's the big thing. Part of being human is our innate natural ability to trust others, right? It's not gullibility. It's just natural. We want to be able to trust people. Why would you want to hurt me, right? Like, that's a natural instinct for a child. Like, a child is so confused. Why would you want to hurt me? I don't want to hurt you. Like, they don't even have that in them, right?
Right.
So I think that's what it should be like. And I'm dedicated to creating environments, working environments, and then communities, and then nations, and then planet, and then wherever we go from after that. Then maybe they'll allow us to leave the planet. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a couple of different stories here. Some is it, what does that mean? Allow us? I think there's stories where we've already left, right? We already have a base on Mars, right? We already have something on the moon. Do we have bases throughout the solar system? I'd say probably, right? But what can you do, right, without a home base? Right, without Earth, right? That's why they had to take it over, right? This is why their whole plan is they blow themselves up so big. So, oh yeah, we're already intergalactic, right? Whatever, right? And we're handling Earth. We're bringing it all under control. Oh, and by the way, we're overpopulated. We need to, the weather is giving us a problem. We've got to kill off 90% of the people. But it's okay. You guys are the cream of the crop, and we're putting you on these other places until we bring you back. Yeah. So their story is weak. They're weak in their understanding of what we can do. Right? We're an amazing people. Right? Fantastic beauty and knowledge and everything is within us. So we're going to be expressing that, as this unfolds. So we're ready to go. So do we got anything else? Are we good for today?
No, man, I'm good. I'm good. I everything's perfect. So thank you so much for your time, everybody. Peace out from New York. Stay tuned for more exciting news. And oh, by the way, we had somebody make a very generous donation, and it will enable us to do something that we need to do to really execute and bring something to law. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much that means to our whole team to be able to do that. I mean, and we still need money to do other things, by the way, but that one donation was so generous, and at a time where we have so little. And we know that lots of people don't have much either. I know that person gave above and beyond. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, we have amazing people that are with us on this journey. So thank you all for everything that everyone has done to donate to everything we're doing. And I know it's something really out of the ordinary for me and for Tank to even ask for donations. And though it's happened, and we were so we've been so blessed by everything everyone has done so far. I'm doing my best to put it all to good use, and I know Tank is doing the same thing, and amazing work that's coming out of this, and it's just part of the fight here on the front line. So thank you all.
Thank you all. All right, peace out.
Bye everybody.